Stop complicating DIY solar. Stop complicating it. A lot of people are under the misconception that solar, they're living off of solar, they're building your own solar system, is inaccessible. And the problem is that a lot of people, just human nature. They want. I don't know if it's an ego thing or they want to act like they know more than everybody else, but they just complicate things. I made a video. There's this dude commenting about 48-volt systems. We all know about 48-volt systems. If we want to go talk about 48-volt systems, 120-volt systems, 36, whatever, there's enough of that. Like, you could call companies. Like, if you have the money to build a system, a 48-volt system, which means that you have the money for a huge solar array, you have the money for expensive transfer switches, you have the money for expensive charge controllers like Outback and Midnight Solar that can handle the 48-volt. You know, who wouldn't want a Ferrari? But that's not the reality. That's not the reality. And I'm trying to put out here information because I went through Hurricane Maria. I did an entire year with no power. I knew nothing about solar, but I knew about practical thinking. And I built a 12-volt system, you know. Why? Because in an emergency, you need to think practically. The guy was saying, oh, 48-volt system, I charge mine with an alternator and my batteries are in series. That's not that's complicated, man. That's complicated, you know. In a shit down scenario, you need some light, you need a fan, because especially if you live in the tropics like me, if you can't sleep with the mosquitoes. A fan, you turn the fan on, you can sleep all night. You need it. You know, you don't need to be going around thinking about 48-volt systems, you know. I'm going to show you something. Right now, 12-volt charger, right? Another 12-volt charger, Schumacher. Batteries are in what? 12-volt configuration. Why? Why am I having 12-volt? Because guess what, guys? In a shit-down scenario, if this was set up as 24 or 48-volt, I wouldn't be able to charge it on a cloudy day. I'd have to be removing cables and charging every battery individually. It's not practical, much less in a shit down scenario, you know. So you could find an inverter. If you're gonna go look for a 48-volt inverter, even a 24-volt inverter, you're not gonna find it at your local auto shop. You're not gonna find it in a shit down scenario. You're not gonna find it. But guess what? You might run into a Pep Boys and you can pick up one of these and you got power and you can sleep with a fan. You see? I have 4 of them. If one of them breaks, these I use because I have the refrigerator, so that's 2,000 watt. But my whole point is that my system is built on the premise of practicality. Okay? Now, during Hurricane Maria, all right, the lines to get gasoline were 2 to 3 miles long. And by the time people got to there was no gas anyway. They ran out. So you really, in a shit down scenario, you shouldn't be thinking about having huge, hefty generators and much less to be charging your battery banks. Look, they're a Harbor Freight. They're actually a different brand, you know. Let me open the door here so you guys can see them a little better. All right, right there. I got 2 of them. Practical. All right, they run on mix. Cheap. You can pick up one of these generators for $100. I got them a little more expensive because of the shipping. Practical, you know. People, I mean, I understand, you know, yeah, it's 48-volt system. Oh, yeah, sounds beautiful. The majority of us don't got the money to do that. The majority of us cannot afford an Outback or Midnight Solar charge controller, but we sure as hell can. We can afford these. These are $10. These are even $6. Some of these, let me give you. There you go. And they work. They're not MPPT, but they work. You know. And the thing is this, I get a little bothered by the subject, and maybe I shouldn't, but I get bothered because everybody is always talking about the ideal, and the ideal costs money, you know. Why is this internet acting up? Everything ideal costs money. So, I can't take part in that philosophy, So all I'm telling people, man, if you're building your solar system, if you have the money, hey, go all out, man. Get Tesla batteries, get nuclear. I don't care what you do. But the majority of us, we could get inexpensive stuff. We could get cheap charge controllers. We can get flooded batteries, which probably are not the ideal. We could pick them up at Pep Boys. We could get 12 volts. At least 12 volts. If you don't have that much knowledge of electricity, you ain't going to get electrocuted. You ain't going to get shocked. That's another thing that you have to think about. The people who are doing things DIY, they don't have the knowledge. 48 volts can give you a big jolt. 12 volts, nothing's going to happen to you. So stop complicating solar. You know what I'm saying? DIY, and let's empower people to know that they can actually do it. Then once they master the 12 volts, once they understand the whole concept, then little by little, there are plenty of people on YouTube showing how to do the complicated stuff. It's just like, this is one kid that I really like a lot. His name's Will Prowse. Will Prowse, he's one of like the top people on YouTube, but he's gotten to a point like that I don't want to follow him, and not because he's doing anything wrong. On the contrary, because he is at a level of dealing with Batterborn, with lithium, with that type of stuff. Whereas I feel that it is no longer practical. You know what I mean? It is no longer DIY off-grid living. Now it's full solar. And each Battleborn battery is like $700-800. Hey, totally out of my out of my budget, and totally out of everybody else's budget too. I'm just letting you know, man. I want to keep it simple. I want people to feel empowered. I want people to know, like right now, I got a 12-volt system. It runs my entire house. It runs my TV. It runs my fridge. It runs my fans. It runs my entire recording studio, all on 12 volts with modified sine wave. I don't have pure sine wave. Modified. I know the solar Nazis are gonna come out. They're gonna be pissed, but practical. I did my battle scars is I did an entire year with no power in Puerto Rico after Hurricane Maria. That's me. That's my experience. And I learned you gotta be practical. That's it, guys. I just want to express this. Peace.